break it down is with Ken Wilber's spiral dynamics integral theory, that we started off as animals, just instinctive living, as we will, animistic, and become, through the use of tools and language and culture, we wind up evolving not in a way that is linear, but in a way that has a spiral, that it wraps all the way around and you grow through these levels. So you think that cultures started making tools in order to better themselves with their chances of survival, to the point where these cultures, they got so massive, like the Roman Empire, to where you get to might makes right, and you get to authoritarianism in, let's say, the Soviet Union. You have the achievist way of looking at things, the rational mind, or this authoritarianism may come from religious views. In these particular altitudes, uh, it explains it a little bit better with this model. Uh, Infrared archaic, dawning self-awareness survives through instinct, intuition, and banding with others. Uh, this way of thinking has been around for around 250,000 years. Uh, as we became more tribal as humans, we see the world as enchanted, values, ritual, and deep community. Uh, Individuals are subordinate to the well-being of the group, and that's around 50,000 years. Like I said, with the Roman Empire, that warrior archetype is egocentric, vigilant, and aggressive, impulsive and ruthless, courageous, determined, and powerful. I like to think of uh, like North Korea or Israel or any real expansionist power, really conservative in its thought process. You got the amber, ethnic or nation-centric, values rules, roles, and discipline in a transcendent God or order, socially conservative. This also blends in there with Israel at times, or different ethno-states. You could think of Germany during World War II. You can think of just conservative Bible Belt Christianity. It has to be this way, and you're in the in group, or you're not this way, and you're going to hell, and you're shunned by the in group. So it's best to fall in line with this way of thinking because this is the right way, and everyone should just fall in line with that way of thinking. Uh, Modern orange, right? These three are the typical places where you will find most people in modern day America, or just around the world generally. Values rationality and science, individualism and democracy, capitalism and materialism, risk taking and self reliance. And this has been online for around 300 years. That sense of pull yourself up by your bootstraps, you could achieve whatever you put your mind to. You as an individual are atomized, and you have to do what is best and most rational and reasonable to you. With that frame of mind, one might think, well, the most rational thing to do is to extract all the oil as quickly as possible because it is going to give us the most money. But when you start to value pluralism and equality and quality of the environment, race issues, gender issues, uh, you start to see where there are people that fall through the cracks at this line. It's been around for about 150 years or so. Now, the core is that if you put all of these tier 1 ways of thinking all into a room together, they're going to fundamentally disagree on what it means to live life. But then, as you integrate this, you understand that there's natural hierarchy and systems of systems, which holding multiple perspectives, you can be flexible, creative, and effective by implementing what the best parts of everyone else is saying is. The difference between green and teal in this jump is that green believes in equality for everyone, except for those who disagree with equality for everyone. Then those people are ignorant, those people need to be shunned, those people need to suffer, when really you understand that you can see where everyone is coming from, that everyone is trying to use reason, everyone's trying to be rational, reasonable. That's what people are inherently through their perspectives, their data analysis. And you reach this turquoise stage of seeing the world as alive and evolving, holistic, cosmocentric. It evolves both individual self and the transpersonal self in the emerging moment of now. That there is no past, there is no future, it's only now. And your interpretation of what the data used to be as the past, and what your interpretation of what the future might be based off of what data you have of the present and the past, and utilizing it to maximize your sense of fulfillment, your sense of joy in every moment. And at this highest tier of post-integral, realizing oneness, realizing everything is unitive in its structure, right? Wisdom and joy seen in saints and sages throughout history. And that might feel like something that is out of reach for you to reach a state of consciousness, that of a sage, that which of a saint would embody. But you could do nothing to reach that stage. It might be something that sounds like an effort-based thing to do. I'll just don't do anything to reach that stage. But if you're supposed to experience life in a particular way, then that's the particular way that you're going to experience the life that you live. This is another chart that's breaking down the levels, and it might look kind of complicated, but stay with me. So we have the different aspects of the self that we interact with at all times. We have the individualized self, the group sense of self, the interior, and the exterior world. Right, so starting off with the individual, we have the self, the I, intentional, subjective, contemplative. You think about your sense of self, but you don't really embody that physically. Shadow work, improving your sense of psychology, your sense of spirituality, and gaining an understanding of what your purpose is in life, what your values are, and how you could be more fulfilled as an interior life, as the interior life of an individual, where you believe this narrative that you're going is. And the interior narrative of the group as a whole, a we, a culture, a group of people, an ethnicity, a religion. It's intersubjective, right? It could be corporate culture, it could be political values, it could be community values, right? That is the identity of the in-group. And then we also have the exterior aspects of this, where we are also the unconscious social systems that we've set up to support one another. We are the economy. We are the systems that we live every day. Uh, Karl Marx, Capra, Maturana, Deep Ecology, Web of Life. We are the marketing. We are the consumption that is manufactured every day by large corporations. And then the individualized external, the brain, the organism, the behavior that we exhibit, the biology, the measurable individual world. And through experiencing all of these at the same time, this creates this spiral in which we roll up this sense of development. Now, considering that most people are somewhere between this purposeful, absolutist authority structure stability and maybe integrative vision logic or harmonizing contemplative life, where you still have some people who are opportunistic and self-protective. They're egocentric, focused on their own needs. They're self-interested, interested in protecting themselves. That might makes right, and you see others as a means to an end, someone to be used for your own gain. The diplomat or the conformist. Norms, rule, needs, concrete operations, socially acceptable behavior, self-valued as belonging and adhering to the group norm through authority and approval. And then the expert is self-conscious, so craft logic rules the norms, right? Abstract operations, third-person perspective, the focus on effectiveness, craft expertise, that there is a correct way. You either do it this way or you're wrong. And you know the right way because of the authority that handed it down to you. The achiever, right? System effectiveness, rules, craft logic, formal operations, third person perspective is expanded upon in linear time. There's focus on the scientific method, objective, measurable reality, laws, control, results, goals, plans, self as self-chosen belief system, right? The ideology. You're going to align with certain beliefs, you're going to attach yourself to certain values, and you're going to cling on to that as your sense of identity and your sense of worthiness. The individualist, pluralist, radical relativism rules the single system view, right? There's a fourth person perspective. You're aware of multiple perspectives. You can see competing systems. Why one way of thinking, although valid, can be a less effective system of operating comparatively to another. And then, obviously, you get to these higher states, and typically people don't make it this far. They get to around the stage that they understand that they can be at, and then they block out everything else. Not because you do that intentionally, but just because you don't understand the logical framework. It's larger than you're able to fit into your box if you're at one of these lower worldviews. And these lower worldviews and understandings of the way that reality works are not worse from a dominance hierarchy perspective, but down here is the pupa, the larva, and you get to your cocoon and you become a butterfly as you move up. Now, is a caterpillar worse than a butterfly? I mean, one could make that argument, and it'd be a subjective argument to be made. But regardless, that caterpillar turns into that butterfly all the same. Now, from the strategist perspective, you become aware of system interrelatedness, interdependence, fourth person perspective expanded in historical time, experience of enduring core self integrating multiple subpersonalities into a coherent, complex self identity and self story, aware of current self as culmination of prior development. So at this point, right, you understand that you think the way that you think because of where you're born, the particular society that you grow into, the cultural identity and beliefs of the time period, and you manage different subpersonalities across your sense of a continuous sense of self. When you become construct aware, deep processes rule the principles. There's a fifth person perspective. You get cross historical, you get global view, interplay of awareness, action, thought, and feeling and body. You focus on conscious awareness and transformation, aware of self as storied, as a fiction, as ongoingly created. That this ego and this sense of self that you develop and you carry around with you as if it means anything. As if like all these achievements that you have down here are relevant in any capacity moving forward as you identify it to the body that you walk around with, the way that you should act, the way that you shouldn't act, and your sense of programming. Now, I can't think like a North Korean because I was not raised in North Korea. I grew up in New Jersey, so I think like someone who was raised in New Jersey. I look at communism and the way that capitalism works as a holonic structure, that there is an interplay within the economic systems of those, interplaying into a larger, more cohesive global system that is always enacted. And we play as if these systems are separate. And that's why at the highest stage of egoic development is the ironist unitive stage, where intersystemic evolution rules process. Aperspectival, right? That you don't look at things from a you perspective or an I perspective. There is only the awareness that is. Everything arising within the fractal geometry of the infinite awareness of the all that is. You, yourself, being as you are, always, forever. You have the capacity to be simultaneously aware of egoic identifications throughout the spiral of the infinite all without identifying with them exclusively. That there's powerful action and not action, wu wei, without attachment to outcome. Wabi sabi, as they say in China. Wu wei, wabi sabi. Go with the flow, don't get too attached with the outcomes. You gotta have compassion for evolution and the joy and suffering of individuation and existence. Now, when you get up to this point, the supermind, the overmind, the metamind, these are all just words that are used to describe these different states. I could describe to a child what it's like to be drunk, but no matter what I use to describe the state of being drunk, those words are not going to get that child drunk. There are certain things that you can't communicate to somebody without them having experienced that state themselves. And so being able to go through this sense of development, being as we are, it's the natural state of awareness. And so I live this life in order to develop myself to these higher stages of awareness, which, as a collective, as the social systems that I intend to continually implement as someone who is reinventing the culture and the worldviews and political values and community values with my intrinsic value of light, love, peace, bliss, joy, prosperity, fulfillment. All these things get added naturally. Everything arises in the rhythms and patterns that everything is supposed to arrive in. I think I reside typically at a turquoise level center of gravity with deep access to states beyond the causal mind. I look at rules, systems, developmental hierarchies as illusory frameworks arising within awareness. These are not ultimate truths. Uh, my cognition is metasystemic. My ideas are partial, paradoxical, and they're also natural, arising in awareness. And all paradoxes get resolved in it. There's no causal growth, cause and effect. It's just a present moment. And you have to be able to accept the present moment for what it is to be fully fulfilled in your journey. Uh, this leads to a radical nonlinear orientation that development is always present potential and it's not a ladder that you're going up and down. It's like your growth is intrinsic. Having the meta awareness of thought, I'm very appreciative of because I'm not my thoughts. I'm the awareness of everything. And language itself falls short of being able to even properly describe reality. Uh, Looking at Terence McKenna or Noam Chomsky, that the images that we wind up relaying to one another through language, we used to not do when we would communicate through strictly body language. When we communicate through language, we're trying to convey ideas and pictures and sounds from our mind into another person's mind, which, even though they might get the concept, they still don't fully get the concept. Versus when you have uh, telepathy and you're able to communicate a picture to somebody directly from your mind. That's an even higher level of communication, and yet it still falls short from the full experience of another point in consciousness. That I don't repress my emotions being as I am, but I witness them in that state of awareness. And I experience emotions as waves passing in awareness, things that I notice, but I don't personally carry that burden. And within that, noticing that I don't have to attach any negativity to my self concept in that way. I feel no sense of shame, no sense of fear, no guilt, no condemnation, and I'm not afraid to show the world any part of me as I am the world. I am a paradigm of awareness within existence. As far as my sense of morality is concerned, I reject rule-based morality. That rules are illusory. I see morality as egoic judgment, and I still hold light, love, peace, bliss, joy, prosperity, and fulfillment as intrinsic values, which are beyond even those words that I described. They're beyond it. It's just being as you are, that sense of peace when there's nothing left. And that's what we do it for. And I will test the beliefs of others just to see if they really believe what they say they believe in. My identity is beyond a person, right? My identity, I could play a different role, but I'm not the archetype that I'm playing in a particular role. I'm the awareness of archetypes as a whole. My identity is holonic. Self is both a unique intrinsic expression and the all of the universe simultaneously. I'm an emergent paradigm that someone may resonate with, someone may not resonate with, but I'm not a fixed self necessarily. I reflect the same clarity onto other people, uh, and I'm the field at large. Right? There is no sense of subject-object duality. It's just I am the subject and I'm the object at large, both awareness and aware of the awareness. Learning from Sri Aurobindo, I see awareness as ever present with the developmental stages as patterns arising, not ladders that are being climbed. And love is all that I am, beyond the words for it, as the unifying presence. At times, there could be a sense of detachment with distance. Uh, by emphasizing everything arises in awareness, there's risk of bypassing the human relational messiness of embodied life and understanding that your circumstances might not be ideal, right? In your present circumstances, in the way that you are judging it, but the messiness comes from your judgment of it, or not necessarily. You could see things as a mess, but whether you see it as a positive or negative thing, whether you see a mess as a problem or as an opportunity, that's where you get it. When I say that you can do nothing to be magnetic, right? You can't force magnetism. That when you're supposed to do something, when an opportunity lines up for you, you could do nothing but go out there and work for exactly what it is that you believe that you could get. And it's always just that. You're constantly being reasonable, being rational, taking these different points in data and getting it souped up so that way you could use it the best that you possibly can with your hardware. Uh, the cellular transformation of awareness, where the body itself comes an expression of non dual presence. Uh, Using magnetism and paradox, holding to awakened groups, not just individuals. Spending the time to study with monks, spending the time to go through various religious texts throughout history over the last several thousand years, studying quantum mechanics, quantum entanglement, psychology. Uh, it's all for the service of waking people up, and it's really effortless through me being as I am and just talking about the way that I experience consciousness. I'm operating on frontiers of non-dual integration, which it's not uh, a flex. It isn't growth that's like, oh man, look how far I've come. Just matter of fact, I appreciate how much the universe has shown me in my development, and to know that there is no more to learn because I've transcended these causal frameworks while still respecting their provisional usefulness and embodying these intrinsic values of light, love, peace, bliss, joy, prosperity, and fulfillment as a natural outflow of being and not some aspirational goals to work on, and hopefully maybe one day I'll be good enough to have achieved them. But you could lose them, but you really can't. It's intrinsic. These are an outflowing of natural being. So I'm not developing in consciousness, I am consciousness. And I'm aware of the play that I'm walking through in the form of this particular body. So I think now is a pretty good spot to call it. I appreciate you tuning into the video, and if you'd like to learn more about what I have to say, feel free to leave a comment, drop a like, and until next time, stay safe, Sigmas. Haha.